Hope that you enjoyed your breakfast. We're heading into day 2 of the Faculty Summer Institute on Teaching and Learning. And I know that those of you who were with us yesterday are eager to continue the conversation about service learning. So I have a couple of announcements. For those of you who missed out on visiting the playground yesterday, you need to go to the playground, and we've made it more convenient for you and also more enticing. For one thing, rather than the East Lobby, it's now in room D, which is right next to us here, so you can sneak over there very quickly. They have brownies there this morning, but they have amazing prizes. Now, to get a prize, you need to ask one of the techs a question, or you can ask for a demo. And they have wonderfully interesting things. Yesterday, I got a demo on Box, and I know that a lot of faculty are using Dropbox, but ODU has Box ready for you, and you don't have to purchase any additional storage. So take a look over there and see some of the very interesting things. If you are using WebEx now, or you plan to use WebEx next semester, you might want to consider a WebEx demonstration. It's one-on-one, so it can be very, very helpful. So that's the first order of business. The second is that in your goodie bags, just for today, is your mouse pad. So this is a mouse pad that you can also write notes and remind yourself of things. Also, I've been asked to let you be aware that the pen that is in your goodie bag is also a stylus. So I think a lot of us have picked up on that. Okay. I want to remind you about the evaluations. Complete your evaluation after each session that you attend. And then today, you will also evaluate the entire day. I don't know if all of you were here yesterday when we were giving out the prizes, but they are some pretty awesome prizes. The only way that you can qualify for a prize is to complete the evaluation and submit it into the basket that we have. So be sure to complete each evaluation form and then tear off the end and put that into the basket. Those of you who were gaming yesterday, continue to game. And I think you've been having a lot of fun doing that. But you need to turn your game books in today by 2:30, and that is in room B, that direction. So complete your books, turn them in to room B at 2:30, and then at 4:15, right after we do our drawing in here, those of you who are gaming need to go into room B, and there will be a prize drawing in there. We have a lot of events happening today, so you may want to take a few minutes to take a look at your schedule, plan out which presentations that you want to go to. Again, they are color-coded by room. So you see that the blue room, there are presentations in this room. And then in B, or I guess in A and C. So now I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Emily Eddins, and a group of students that she is going to be introducing to us. And those students will share with us what service learning is like from the student perspective. So there will be time for you, faculty, to ask the students questions. Emily?
Okay, are all of our mics on? All good to go? Okay. So, welcome to day 2. I have the pleasure of introducing a panel of students who all have taken service learning courses just in the last semester. So it's all fresh in their minds, and I am just going to jump right in and let them do the talking. So if you would like to go down and introduce yourself, please tell me your major, okay, yeah. So tell us your major, what year you're in, and tell us what service learning course you took and what was the service component.
I guess I'll go first. My name is Catherine Moore. I just recently graduated. My major was dental hygiene, and I actually took 2 service learning courses. The first being community oral health, and the second I did an interprofessional global health study in Guatemala, a study abroad course.
My name is Erin Jacobson. I am a rising sophomore, so I was a freshman when I took my course. My major is art history, and the course that I took was English 231C, which was an introductory technical and scientific writing course. And we conducted usability tests on Climate Central's Risk Finder tool, which was an online mapping tool where users explore the effects of sea level rise due to climate change.
Hi, my name is Haley Babadilla, and I also recently just graduated from the dental hygiene program here as well. And my service learning course was community oral health as well, but I did a different project. I did a continuing education course with a group of other oral health or health professionals for the Virginia Nutritional Dietetics group here. And so we just taught a continuing education course on oral health during pregnancy and for children from the age of infancy to toddlers.
My name is Nicole Reichers, and I'm a rising sophomore. I was a freshman when I took my course, and I also took English 231C, Intro to Technical and Scientific Writing, with a focus in honors crisis communication and climate change.
My name is Robert Lawson. I'm a senior and in the Parks and Rec major, and my service learning was Care Now, and we facilitated an after-school program at Blair Middle School.
Thanks, guys. So what did you not know at the beginning of the class that you took that you know now because of the service learning course?
Well, I learned a lot in both of my courses. In the community oral health professional class, I learned a lot about how public health works in a different kind of practice versus the private practice model. We were able to go into many public health offices and actually schools too to teach children about oral health. In my Guatemala study abroad class, I learned a lot about interprofessional studies, being many other professions went to Guatemala with us, and we all worked together to see how many different professions can work together to achieve the same goal of health, not just oral health or physical therapy or nursing, that we all can work together to achieve the same goal.
Well, definitely being a freshman, I had no experience with research whatsoever, so it was definitely new to me. And also taking the course, I had no idea that it was a research course. So when I started, I was extremely excited to know that I would be doing something that impacted the community and impacted a real project. And now that I know that, I know research is so important to my future and to the community and how the community is able to solve problems such as climate change, which is, of course, an extremely prevalent issue in the Hampton Roads area.
It's hard for me to be a little bit different from Catherine, but definitely I can say ditto. We learned a lot about oral health in the public and community setting. We learned a lot about the oral health need in the community, and I also did something that was interprofessional, so not just working as a dental hygienist, but working with a fellow nursing student, an environmental health student, and a public health student, and all of us just working together to achieve the same goal of overall health together is what's really important. And I learned a lot about the overall need of oral health in our community and how it's not as great as we think it is, or how oral health literacy or how general health literacy is not as high as we would hope to be. So it's very important that we learn to very much spread the word about oral health and public health, and that we don't just stay in our own private practice bubble, but to also spread our wings and go elsewhere within the community to those who really need help.
So yeah, my answer is going to be pretty similar to Erin's because we were in the same class. But I do think that being in a research class in my freshman year, attending Old Dominion, is a huge deal because in our future we're going to have to do a whole bunch of research projects, and it's going to be a big part of our future. So I think it is very important that I took this course, and each paper leading up to our final paper was sort of like they pieced together. So at the end we had this gigantic research paper, and it was just so much easier to have a class where each paper actually had to do with something, and at the end of it we had an outcome of a paper, and we actually were doing a study, and it was actually affecting the website that we were helping, Climate Central's risk finder tool. So I think it was really cool that in my freshman year I got to experience all these cool things that I wouldn't have got to experience in just a regular technical writing class.
Well, I don't know anything about cleaning teeth. But I do know how to play with kids. So, the biggest thing that I learned last semester was no matter how difficult or different their backgrounds can be, all the kids really want is somebody to care about them and how they're feeling. And sometimes the kid could be having a bad day, and saying something positive to that child in that brief, 2 hours or however long we spent with them, that might be the only positive thing they heard all day. And it really, to watch the kids grow from day one to the end of the semester, at the end of the program, you really get a chance to care about the kids, and they start to care about you, and you can see that in how resistant they are at the beginning, and how comfortable they are with you at the end.
So I've had that, I'm going to talk for just a second. I had the opportunity to visit each one of these courses, and except for Guatemala, although I really tried. But Haley cleaned my teeth. She learned the dental need of me. And I got to sit in on the community partner session that the climate change course had, and that was really interesting to watch you guys interact. And I got to go visit Care Now, and watching them with the kids at Blair Middle School, and it was at PB Young last year when I visited, and these programs are really signature and really, really well done. So if you guys could tell us what your professor did to help you better understand the service learning component of the course and the experiences that you and your classmates were having.
Well, for my community oral health class was Miss Sharon Stoll. She had us going to all these different places, and she had us go to all kinds of different schools. We went to, I guess you could say, nursing homes, and we taught different people. So we were able to teach children all the way up to senior adults about their oral health needs. And she actually went to Guada with us and Dr. Deborah Gray. I see she just walked in. But in that course, we actually, every night would discuss what we learned, and they would give their insight to how we made a difference in that community. So, yeah.
Well, again, for us, this was an introductory course with freshmen, and Mrs. McKittrick, who is our professor, she always gave us a lot of feedback. She made sure that we were constantly playing with the tool and really putting a personal touch on everything we did, such as, when we were writing our research and recommendation reports, we all had our own angle. She gave us our own jobs in the usability test so that we felt like we were included and not just watching, which was extremely useful and very impactful in really ingraining that element of research into us early on. And also her technique of her assignments, which was scaffolding, where every assignment built upon the previous assignment, was extremely helpful because we had all of the resources that we needed when it came time to finish the project and actually have our recommendations and our research. So that was very helpful.
For my course with Mrs. Sharon Stoll again, her community efforts cannot be summed into words, honestly. I'm not sure what area of Hampton Roads hasn't been touched by her or our fellow students, but she has been such a great help for just helping us apply our knowledge into a very challenging setting. I mean, it's more than just working in the ODU Dental Hygiene Clinic and seeing certain people there, but when we go out into the community, we see people with special needs, different learning capabilities, different physical abilities, and it really gave us a really great challenge, but a very rewarding one, and I would have to say that going out to those community areas was very helpful. And in regards to the continuing education course, she was very helpful in giving us the necessary resources to help spread the word about oral health to the overall community, to these public health workers who speak to the community for us. So she gave us all of the necessary tools, resources, just information overall, and just gave us great feedback on how to sum it up and make the CE course really coherent, cohesive, putting everything into layman's terms so that way everyone can understand it. Just very helpful with resources and teaching us and giving us everything that we need to know.
I also had Mrs. Megan McKittrick, and during our course, when I signed up for the course, like Erin said, I had no idea that it was a service learning course or that we were going to be doing research or really anything like that. So when the class started and we started talking about abstracts and like what ideas we had about this and like what we thought about climate change, it was really overwhelming at first because I knew a little bit about climate change, but I never taken a course in it and I never done any actual research opportunities. I had never had any actual research opportunities. So I thought that it was really nice because we could put all of our trust in Mrs. McKittrick, and she just helped us even from the beginning. Like if we had an idea for our paper that was like borderline, like we were kind of thinking that would be a good idea, she would assure us that it was, like a good idea, like you're working towards a bigger goal and everything that you have planned is going well. So like from the very first assignment, we just had to put our trust in her that the end results of our study would match up with our paper, and then that we would have a great paper to finish the term with. So I thought that was really nice that we could just, put our trust in her and have a great paper at the end of the class.
Well, for the first couple of weeks, Dr. Eddie Hill and Miss Jenny Goff, they had us come to a room over at the Student Rec Center, and we went through the different character traits and resiliency attributes that we'd be discussing with the kids throughout the semester, and going over all the different games and debriefing activities. So it's hard to tell a kid to play a game that you don't know how to play. So we learned all the games before we went and put them into action, and they explained to us that the kids have many different socioeconomical backgrounds, and some of them were, we'll call them challenging attitudes. And they instilled that it's a proven course, and if we stayed on track, we would see the results at the end, and in the end, it all worked out great.
Can you tell us a story about how your service learning helped solidify your learning of the course concepts?
I think one time when I was in Guatemala, it was interesting because the dental need in Guatemala is it's a great disparity. Everyone has a great need for dental treatment. And I was the only dental hygiene student that actually went. And each day we would go to, it's called Corazon de los Niños, which means Heart of the Children. And it's a non-governmental organization that is for this certain area. And we would go help out. And some days we would go to this place, or we would go help hand out vegetables or hand out whatever to the people that need food. So because the dental need was so great, I was able to provide services that none of the other people were able to. Like, I was able to place sealants to prevent cavities and clean children's teeth that really need it, instead of going to hand out the vegetables. And I feel like I was able to provide a greater service because of what I knew and what I was able to do. And being able to help prevent future disease in all these children, I think gave me a great experience in providing services to the people in need.
Well, I think prior to the actual service learning component, which was our usability tests, we had been doing a lot of research, and we had been doing a lot of writing, and we had a lot of ideas. But until that moment, we really had no idea how impactful what we were doing was going to be on that Hampton Roads community. And when we had the usability tests and we had the participants come in, and my participant in particular, it was really exciting to actually see him using the tool and making comments and having issues and liking certain things that I had read about or expected. And that really solidified how excited I was about the project and how important it was that we were making sure we were, conducting ethical research, that we had results that were helpful, and it was just great to actually see that in person.
I don't exactly have a specific story, but again, my group spoke about oral health and pregnancy at this continuing education course. So the information that I got from that was definitely putting the 2 years of education into practice, and having to present that really demonstrates that we have to know what we're saying and be able to answer questions from these other fellow health professionals. So it's kind of nerve-wracking as a student to have an actual professional leader ask you questions. But I think during that time, it really solidifies that, we are about to become a professional, and that we do have an expertise, and that we do know a lot, and that, other people and public health professionals do not know what we know. So it kind of solidified the importance of really working together, and so just really putting what I learned into practice and into a very professional type of setting was very helpful.
Piggybacking off of what Erin said, with our usability testing that we had with our participants, I think that was the main experience that stood out to me for this class, because we had learned about all this information the whole year. We had looked at the website, we had to try to figure out the website ourselves, and we wrote papers about it, like trying to figure out ways that we could improve the website. And I just thought it was so interesting to watch the participant interact with this program in the same ways that we did, like not being able to figure out certain maps and like not being able to read the graphs correctly. I thought that was a cool experience to see that we are making a difference, and that if we're seeing problems and other people are seeing problems, and we record this data and record the majority of the themes that had the participants confused, that we actually are helping the website, and then we're helping educate the public by using the website, by using Climate Central's website. And any of the general public can go on the website and search their area and see, how flooding would affect their area or anything like that, and then they can use what information we found from our studies with these participants, and they maybe can alter the website so it could be more user-friendly, so more people can be educated about the dangers of climate change.
Well, again, I stand on an island. But my story is just one of relatability. I'm a little older. I've been a professional in a few different things before I came back to school to get my bachelor's degree. But, I come from where these kids come from, and, one child opened up to me, I won't use any names, but he's having a real tough time. Dad's gone, and, on and on and on. And I'm looking at this child, and I see myself 20 years ago. And to be able to give him the advice from 20 years of experience that, nobody was there to give me, just to try to save him, 15 years of angst, and, tell him that, there's ways to go to college out of high school. You don't have to do this and you don't have to do that, but there's a way. And at the end of the program, we bring them, everybody who's participated and in good standing with the program, we bring them over to ODU and we take them on a field trip, on a campus tour, like a regular freshman campus tour, and their eyes just would light up. And this is just coming from down the street. And you just let them know that there's an endless world of possibilities out there. You don't have to go to ODU, although I recommend it. You can go anywhere, and it's all up to you, and life is what you make of it.
Thanks. So I'm gonna throw one at you that I didn't give you before. Is that okay? You guys okay with that? Okay, it'll be easy. So part of this conference some professors here have experience in service learning, but many don't, and many are thinking about it, hopefully. So what advice would you give to a professor who's thinking about doing service learning and is going to implement service learning into their course for the first time?
I would say try to get involved in the service learning that you are planning on having the students do. Being able to see what your students see is very important, I would say. So if you're planning on doing something, I would say probably going to do it yourself, I guess. So then you can see it through your students' eyes too.
First, I would say absolutely do it, because I think you'll find that a lot of students are extremely willing to participate in this sort of project to serve their community or to do research. The one recommendation I can give is to do a lot of preparation. Mrs. McKittrick did a whole lot of preparation, and she made sure that we always felt comfortable so that we could really succeed in the course and in what we were doing, so that we could really get the benefits from what we were doing. So I would say absolutely do it, but just keep the whole project in mind at the beginning.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, definitely do it. I think it just solidified applying what I know to a professional career and setting. And I would definitely say, yes, get involved. Feel open to students' feedback. If it's your first time, it's not going to be perfect always the first time, but I think having an open communication with the professor was so helpful, because we felt like she was receptive to our feedback and we were very receptive to hers. So just knowing how the students feel and how the professor feels is really important to help the project really work out.
As a freshman, a lot of the classes you're taking are, gen ed classes, like your calculus, your classes that you need for your, to get up to your major classes. And I think that this class that I took this semester was my favorite class of this entire year, because it just had so many real-world applications, and I actually felt like I was doing something and my research is actually going somewhere, and it just feels so nice knowing that you're actually doing something in a class even as a freshman. You can be making such a difference. So I would say to all the teachers that are thinking about it, definitely try it, because your students will be very interested in the class, and they'll be willing to, do more research and come in after hours, and it's a really good class for the students to have, and if your students are involved in the class and happy in the class, then it should make the class so much more, entertaining and fun.
All right, students like any opportunity to get out of the classroom. The classroom can become mundane, but with the service learning, it's very helpful to, I would say, students like myself who don't necessarily learn that well from books. I'm more of a hands-on kind of person, and I think there's a lot more hands-on students out there than professors realize, and integrating some outside the classroom activities would help not necessarily foster, but help solidify the impact of what the course is actually trying to teach. Seeing something in action is a lot more easy to see than to learn concepts and then be on your own to put them in action after the course is over.
Okay. Any last bits that you wanted to add? All good? Okay. All right. Well, please give our student panel a round of applause. And thank you all very much for coming. So we have, we have a couple minutes for questions. Is that, we have four minutes for questions? Is that okay with you guys? Okay.
That's fine. I'm missing biology right now.
He was like, we can stay. Although biology is a great class.
How do you plan to continue the work that you've done?
Yep, whoever, it's open floor.
Oh, I've been asked to repeat the question. My question is, how do you plan to continue in the work that you've done?
I think in my community oral health, Ms. Stoll has inspired me to do more community service, maybe work in the public health office a little bit when I am practicing, or just any community service would be great, not necessarily in my dental profession. It could be anything, and it's inspired probably everyone in the class. So.
Well, obviously, I'd love to continue working on the research that I did for the Risk Finder project. But I'd also like to seek out, other research opportunities, maybe within my major, taking as many research-oriented classes that I can, and really just getting involved as much as possible, I think is the best way to do that.
I'm just waiting for my license, but I'm ready to go out there like right now and just keep doing community. So I'm just honestly ready to send in my application, and I'm already looking into different public health areas and a community clinical site in Virginia Beach right now. But I'm just definitely ready to continue my professional life, but not just in a private practice setting, to make money or things like that, but to volunteer my time, I think is really important to me.
I would love to take another service learning class. I think that would be a really cool opportunity, again, for me to have as an undergraduate. And this class just taught me so much more than just a regular technical writing class would. So I think having more experience in, like service learning and research in my future, that'll definitely be there.
I plan on facilitating an adaptive sports program with children with disabilities, and I play with my kids every day.
Okay. Yeah, we've got time for one more.
I'm just curious as to why you took the class. Was it because of a catchy name? Was it because it was a general elective course that you had to take? Was it because you were from the community and you thought you could make a difference with the children? What kind of drew you to the class that you ended up taking?
Well, community oral health professions is actually required in our major. But the Guatemalan trip I felt like would be a great opportunity to experience something that not many other people have and learn about other professions because it was an interprofessional health class. And it also helped me educate the other people that went about what dental hygiene is and what we do, and learn from them about nursing and what they do too. But they all were a great experience, and I would recommend it to everyone.
I had taken a climate change English class before, and 231C was required for my major, but on the course listing, I saw the title of the class, which was Crisis Communication and Climate Change, so I thought it would be a good way to build upon knowledge that I already had, and then crisis communication sounded really interesting to me, and it was something new. So I figured I'd try something new and do something that I was familiar with.
Same, it was a requirement for our program, but I hate to say it that way. If I saw the course title on the listing, I would choose it. even if it wasn't a requirement. But in just a quick summary, I would say that, the experiences that I've had there were countless. And I think that's what draws me to the course is because it says community health, which is something that doesn't really get touched on in our other courses. So we get to really go outside of the clinical setting and go elsewhere.
I honestly just took the class because I needed another honors college course and it fit in my schedule. But at the end of the semester, I can say that it was a really good choice, and I really did enjoy the class, and it was one of my favorites this year.
It was a requirement for Parks and Rec major, but who wouldn't take a class called Facilitating the Recreation Experience? It just sounds cool.
Awesome. ODU has cool classes. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. And yeah, another round of applause. Great job.
All right. This is your break. You have 15 minutes, and just as a quick reminder, as you make your way to the next event, don't forget to stop by the CLT playground in room D, which is this direction, and try the latest teaching technologies. Feel free to visit the game folks that are in room B over on this side. Those of you who are attending sessions in room A should head in that direction, and those of you who are going to room E should go in this direction. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Check, check. 1, 2, check.
Is it bad I don't have to look and see where I am? Is this me? Okay. I don't want idiot looking over the table. I wonder if these things are live.
I feel like I would sit in front of the wrong name tag, and that would be awkward.
Like that?
I'm taking my
My time to shine.
Okay, I'm gonna put this here. So are we speaking together?
Already, yeah. Already cracking the water, that's always a good sign.
should have done that.
Yeah, I don't know why they popped. It's weird.
Thank you, staff, for this wonderful. You guys are the
I'm
real
so glad so many people left.
Thank you for two. I wish I had two. Oh God, I don't
Super
pee in
excited
like
so
5
many
minutes.
people left.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, sure.
Is that picking up on the mics? I wish we had an audio thing.
Thank God
so we
I
could see.
literally wrote
I would
them
hope
on
the
here.
whole room of teachers wouldn't have just heard that I said. I'm so
What's up with
stressed.
that woman speaking earlier?
Welcome. This is our first panel that we have today for the morning. It's at 9:45 starting. We have Dr. Megan McKittrick, and the topic is improving local environmental risk communication through citizen-based usability testing, an undergraduate research service learning project. And Dr. McKittrick is here with several of her students that have been working on this, and so I will pass it to her.
So, hi everybody, my name is Megan McKittrick and I am an instructor in the Department of English. I've been working with the Honors College as well for a few years now, and I'm also a student in the Department of English working toward my PhD, so I'm not quite Dr. McKittrick yet, although I do like the sound of it. So yes, what's important about that is that as an instructor and as a student, I've used this opportunity to develop this course as part of my coursework in the program, actually taking Dr. Richards' class. As a research assistant working with Dr. Richards, I have taken our research and brought it to the classroom with me so that my undergraduate students could work as fellow research assistants alongside with me. So we'll be talking about that course. So I'm proud to share the stage with my students that took this class with me in the spring of 2015 here. They'll be talking about their results, their findings from the research that we conducted as a class, and their reflections about service learning in general. So today, So today, essentially to kind of give you a snapshot of what we'll be covering, we're going to be talking about a client-based service learning course that was developed for an Honors College undergraduate research learning community. We conducted as a class productive usability testing for our client Climate Central, so we'll tell you a little bit about who they are. And students will share their results and recommendations that they came up with based on their work this semester, as well as their reflections on service learning as a whole and their suggestions for teachers considering this kind of work or developing this kind of work. So the course, a little bit of background about the course itself. English 231C is an Introduction to Technical and Scientific Writing course. If you attended the previous panel, a couple of my students were already talking about it there. But it is a gen ed writing requirement that all students must take, and they have options of taking which 200 level writing course to go through. In the fall and spring of 2014-2015, one of these 231C courses was designated as a Honors Crisis Communication and Climate Change course with the Honors College. And it was established as an undergraduate research learning community. Now, the goal of research learning communities is to engage students in research that tackles civic issues while providing opportunities to engage with research sites on campus, as well as learn about research methods early in their career. And this would move them toward research apprenticeship opportunities on campus. So the project itself is, we worked with Climate Central as our client, which is an apolitical nonprofit organization based in Princeton, New Jersey. And their mission is to communicate the risks and impact of climate change in various regions across the nation. So they developed a Surging Seas Risk Finder tool, and their most recent iteration of that is for the state of Virginia. It came out in the fall of 2014. They've conducted usability testing once before, but they've developed this for city planners mainly. And so they were very interested in gathering data and information about the way general audiences might use this tool, what uses they'd have for it, what perceptions they have of its usefulness and usability. So that's where we entered in, and Dr. Richards coordinated an opportunity to conduct this research and share this opportunity with me and my class. So this really represented a layered team project, where Dr. Richards handled the research component of it, coordinating with the client. And I conducted the teaching portion of it, working with the students and engaging them in the project. So if you have a laptop or a mobile device or a smartphone, we invite you to actually test the tool yourself to play with it. I've provided a bit.ly here. If you enter this into your web browser, you'll be taken to the Surging Seas Risk Finder tool. At the end, we'd be very interested in hearing your thoughts about the tool itself as you ask questions of the students. So browse through it, note your questions, note any errors that you encounter, any confusions that you have. And this will be kind of an opportunity to participate as like a participant observer usability testing that will engage here with the crowd. So. Now, next I wanted to kind of cover a little bit about the course learning objectives. So for the undergraduate research learning community, we developed this as a service learning project. As such, we wanted students to engage with effective public documents. In producing effective public documents for the purpose of exploring technical and scientific writing. We also wanted them to be conducting meaningful research, and that is research that could be used by our client, by Climate Central, in order to improve their efforts to communicate the risks of climate change for the Hampton Roads community. But also to have them engaging with research that would enable students to actually meet members of the community, to hear their stories about risk, to hear their stories about their experiences in Hampton Roads, and really engage with the way technical writers and scientific writers try to communicate these things with real audiences. So in doing so, students observed and participated in this testing themselves. As mentioned in the previous panel, each had a role to play when the testing session took place. We then analyzed the data, and students reflected on their experiences as part of their coursework. So the methods we engaged in, which we can speak to if you have any questions about, particularly in the Q&A session, was productive usability. And we engaged in systematic sampling in order to get participants from the Hampton Roads community, conducted a pre-test and post-test interview inviting residents to speak on their perceptions of risk as well as their potential uses of the Risk Finder tool, and invited them to engage in Think Aloud protocol, talking through their choices, their clicks, as they moved through the tool. We transcribed all of this, the students and I did. That was a fun part, right? And then we coded this for themes and analyzed that for the production of research reports as well as recommendation reports. So what I encouraged students to do was to adopt their own individualized angle early in the semester as a means of getting them to, as we all know, as scholars, researchers, teachers in the community, we know that every research project that we pick up has multiple angles that we can adopt for different publication or conference or speaking purposes. So I wanted to get students thinking along these lines as a means of plugging into this with their own research interests. This was challenging, but many students adopted essentially one of three different angles that the students here will be speaking on. The civic impact of this, that is health infrastructure, the way risk is communicated, and the way climate change is brought into educational contexts. They examine the environmental impact of climate change on natural disasters, which students here will be speaking about, and the social impact of this on populations in the area, particularly social vulnerability. So at this point, I'll turn it over to our first student speaker. So this is Nicole, and she'll be speaking on particularly the civic and environmental impact. So.
Hello, my name is Nicole Rikers, and I'm a marine biology major at ODU. Thank you. So the angle that I chose for this assignment, or for this class, was more along the lines of civic and environmental impacts. So I focused more on infrastructure, education, and communication, which is more along the lines of civic, and in relation with natural disasters, which is more environmental. And the first point that I had was the effect of climate change on natural disasters. So this is how I began my research at the beginning of this class. And so when I first started researching about this relationship between natural disasters and climate change, I was more focused on like how they related to one another and how what the public's view was on this. And as I did more and more research, I discovered that there is an extreme lack of knowledge about this issue, specifically in the field of atmospheric related natural disasters, which is like tsunamis and earthquakes. And so many studies show that the more educated a community is, the more prepared they will be for natural disasters. And that's kind of the route that I took on this, more along the lines of what the public knows and how they can be educated to better prepare them. So, Climate Central's Risk Finder tool helps educate the public about the relationship between the natural disasters and climate change, and more than that, like all the graphs and data and all of that stuff. And so that's why I thought this would be good to incorporate along in my research, like how communication can help educate the public more. So, hold on, let me go back real fast. So in the communication and knowledge section, the importance of education and communication, we all know that this is a prevalent issue in America, but it can also be a huge issue in other places like Taiwan. And I read an article about this issue in Taiwan with flooding. And in this journal, the author makes a point to let the readers know that there are two choices that you can do. You can either choose to educate the public, or you can try and fix the problem. And they believe that it's better to educate the public on climate change by using problem solving or trying to fix the problem, the issues that they have at hand, rather than just lecturing, the public about the dangers of climate change, like just giving them a lecture and not really expanding and telling them how they can fix the problem. So after our study was completed and the audio was transcribed and coded for themes, I created this pie chart to display the themes that the three most prevalent themes that we found. So the three main categories were risks, impact of risks, and technical problems. And so the risks, the theme of risk in the category would be like climate change or flooding or sea level rise. And the numbers aren't all on there, but this one is 61 instances that we had found this in each of the participants' audio that we transcribed. So how many times they talked about climate change or flooding or sea level rise and how important that was to them. And then the second topic is impact of risk, and that's more like transportation or family. So how could I get to work on this day if the flooding were at this level, or I wonder how my brother would be at this certain level of flooding. And then the third one, the biggest one, is technical problems. So this is difficulties with the computer or the website. So when they were on the website, either the maps weren't loading, or the graphs were confusing, or they didn't understand how to work the tool. As you guys are trying to explore it now, you can probably see what I'm talking about. And this is the largest one. This is 88 instances that we had about this. So even in my session, our participant was, he worked for the government, so he was educated on this issue, but he still had some issues with the technical aspect of it, with graphs not loading and stuff that you can't fix yourself. That it has to be from the Climate Change Central. So ultimately, we combine the risk and impact of risk categories into one topic. So we have two major themes, and so for the risk and impact of risks, we found out. Hold on. We found out that they were more concerned about themselves and their personal well-being, which is human nature, to be like, how is my brother doing at this time? Or how would my house be? Or should I go buy another house? Or should I go into real estate? Those were some big questions that we heard. And technical issues, even when we went over the website and looked at all of the graphs and stuff and try to maneuver around that, even we had problems, like the tech-savvy generation, we had problems with the website. And the tool itself was confusing, and the maps, the loading of maps and graphs was a major issue. And also, we took into account that it might have been a different computer that they were using in our usability testing. Like if they were used to working with Macs and they had a Dell or whatever it may be. And let's see. So back to my original angle. Most of our participants discussed flooding when they were when we were transcribing the data, and this is under the risk theme. So many talked about infrastructure damage and transportation issues. So, a lot of them concerned about how would I get to work if this bridge was flooded, or if any of the buildings in the community were damaged, or along those lines. And that was a very popular theme that we coded as well. which also goes back to the personal well-being and, concerned about yourself, human nature. Like how will I get to work? Is my house in danger? Is my son's house in danger? And all that stuff. So that was the angle that I took on that assignment. And now Jaya will talk about her angle.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jaya Chabra, and I just finished my sophomore year at Old Dominion University. I'll be talking about social vulnerability today and how that relates to sea level rise. So let me start off by defining social vulnerability. It's basically the inability of people to remain unaffected due to social harm, like sea level rise that we're talking about. So how are these people able to protect themselves if they're going through things like sea level rise, which results in flooding? In order to even define social vulnerability, it is important to lay out the factors that affect it. There are a lot of factors that affect it, but the most common ones include race, gender, ethnicity, and we have resources, material resources, income. So all of these factors play a great role into defining where those social vulnerable groups are located. Therefore, we can analyze those groups and help locate them so we can help mitigate the impact of the sea level rise that can occur in the future. There were different approaches that when I conducted my research and I laid out the research review, there were different approaches that were taken in order to define social vulnerability, and the main approach was factor analytical approach, which basically we started out with 42 variables and we limited it, the researchers limited it down to 11. And then from that, they computed it in a model called the Social Vulnerability Index, and that basically lays out the different types of variables that relate to social vulnerability. And why social vulnerability in relation to sea level rise? So why is it even important? Basically, the groups that are socially vulnerable currently are even in greater danger than us right now. So if they are to be impacted by, sea level rise, flooding, then those certain groups will be in greater danger, and we need to protect them. So by relating it now, we can go ahead and help mitigate those the impact of sea level rise. And after, basically our usability testing, we found out two themes that we came together as a class: risk perception and technological problems. Risk perception, basically, that was a more concern of family members and infrastructures. So they were concerned about how their family will be. They wanted to look up on the tool where they are located. That's the first thing that they looked up. And they wanted to see how their family is going to be in the future, whether it would impact them, or where would they want to move if sea level were to flood their area. And also infrastructure was a great deal as well, because people work. They want to know, is the work going to be impacted by how much flooding that will occur in the future. Also, another theme that we discovered was technological problems, which was a great deal because two things: website navigation, website terminology, and also actually technical communication we found. So people weren't able to navigate the website very efficiently. They had a lot of problems while navigating the website, so there was a lack of terminology between the people who were playing around with the website or the tool. So let me go back here. And basically, we can kind of say now that as we relate social vulnerability in relation to the tool, it is important to know where those factors are, so that when they go back and look at the tool, they need to know where these social vulnerable groups are related so they can help them and thus can help mitigate the impact of sea level rise and flooding. And now Bella will talk about web navigation and recommendation.
Hi. Hey. Hello, my name is Pauline Ferraro. I am a rising sophomore here at ODU. I am a communications major with a minor in English. And my angle for the study was not on the content itself, but what makes an effective website. Will this website be useful for the public? And the like of that, along with visual design and the psychology behind visual design. My recommendation report, which I wrote for Climate Central to be delivered to Climate Central about their tool Risk Finder, was mainly based on the research done by Dan Norman on how attractive things work better, and also with color theory. There is two groups of colors. warm colors and cool colors, and these different colors, the different groups of colors mix well together when creating different color palettes, and that's how in here we have the different shades of blue and white instead of blue and, say, orange, because orange is a warm color and it doesn't really fit with the cool color system. And then I also looked at the basics of visual design, which mostly revolved around organization and lines, how things are more organized, we will use them more than things that are unorganized. For example, if we find a very cluttered website that has a bunch of ads or just has too much data on it, we normally just ignore it and just move past it. When we find a website that's clean, crisp, we use it more. We are now in an age of minimalism where less is more, and that's what we want when we look at a website. I stayed up late one night and just went through the tool and decided what was right and what was wrong with it. And basically, this is the home page as you find when we look at RiskFinder. It has a cool color palette, but it throws in yellow, which is kind of awkward. Personally, I find the yellow very awkward. And certain things don't stand out more. When we conducted usability testing, as soon as users found these quick start videos, they found that they used the tool a lot more, which I don't know if you've found these videos yet, but it shows you exactly how to use what you now figured out is a very complicated and very cluttered tool. It also implements the whole thing of how the eye tracks. The eye will start up here, where it's found in Virginia, and then it will go down here, and it will completely ignore the rest of this because we're too busy looking at all this information up here where we have to click and navigate to find different things. And then this is the map, which I have a lot of issues with. And as we found when we were conducting usability testing, there was a lot of evidence of lag, and maybe it was just the internet here at Old Dominion being weird, because internet can do that. But as soon as I tried to find a picture that did not include this lag issue, I couldn't find one. So I'm sorry about that for this picture. But this is what it looks like. There is this tool over here, which is a slider that, which, if you haven't used it yet, will change the level of sea rise on the map. So it will show different levels of the water rising and lowering, but the color doesn't really show up on the map because it's another shade of blue, because there's too much blue on the map. And another issue a lot of people ran into is these things down here. The tool doesn't tell you what it does. You have to try to figure out for yourself. And we as humans now have a short attention span. We want the information now and we want it quickly. And if it's not quick, we kind of just get bored and move on. And these different tabs up here are another way to get to the different parts of the tool, and those tabs pointing up here are different, how would you say it, different charts and graphs, which also was very confusing for most of the users. My recommendations for the report were to be fix the lag, and most of the thing where it was lag, it was too difficult to use and too complicated. To change this, I believe that we should make the quick start videos a bigger tab for people to look at it quickly, so they can use that and then use so watching the videos, they can know how to use the tool, which I feel would be better suited for people, the general public, and not technicians who develop the website, which is what this looks like right now. Another issue that came up was that people did not see this tab thing, which got cut off in the picture. I'm sorry about that. They don't see it here because it just blends in so much with the rest of blue, because it's all blue. It's like a dark blue and not really variation on that dark blue. If we change this color to, say, a red or something like that, red or orange, it would attract the attention more. And also make this little slider thing right here bigger, because you can't really tell it's a sliding tool. It just kind of sits there and we just basically ignore it. Another thing that was pointed out when we conducted usability testing was the fast look reports, which are up here. And it's basically charts and graphs of data that you can find from using the tool, but laid out in number form, which my usability person that we used, volunteer, as soon as he found that, he went back to the tool and he was able to use it better, and it was a more enjoyable experience for him. And Macy is going to talk about reflections now. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Macy Van Savage, and I am a speech pathology major with a minor in recreational therapy. And I'm going to introduce you to the reflections of our research course. Our course included a pre-designed study, It proved not only to be functional for us as students, but also beneficial for our future endeavors as undergraduates. It really acted as a gentle introduction to research and client-based work. Being a freshman, now rising sophomore, I had no prior experience when it came to the field of working with clients, research, studies, anything like that. So I know when I initially came into class on the first day and got told everything I was going to be doing that semester, I was very intimidated. But after trusting Mrs. McKittrick in class, it really just kind of brought me along with every aspect of research, and I finally felt comfortable with it by the end of the semester, and I thought it was really, really great in that way. I think the most exciting aspect of this course was really the potential for the big impact. Of course, with research, you're really excited about where it's going to take you and how you're going to be able to touch the community and serve your client. And with this comes educating. Oh, I'm sorry, I haven't been going on. Here we are. Apologies. And it really goes with educating our community. Through our usability testing, us as students, we got to sit in for 4 of the usability sessions. I believe we ended up having 8 participants, if that's right, and that's correct. And through those 4, us as students being able to sit through and really learn and watch how people in our very own community of Hampton Roads work through this tool was just awesome. And knowing that maybe they would go home and tell more people about it and kind of spread the word, even though it's a small impact right now, it can lead to bigger and better things. And I found that really incredible. And then through our usability testing, we were able to go back and inform our client of what we saw are the certain flaws of the tool that maybe they can improve on and further help other societies, because this tool does go up along the East and West Coast, and I think hopefully in the future it might be going international. And so I thought that was also a really great thing, and I was excited to be a part of it. And then I will go on a little bit more about the research. Our participants really varied in their reactions to our usability testing. Some of them found it a little more confusing, a little hard to navigate. As Pauline pointed out through the design of the website, some of it was difficult. And they really ranged in age as well, which can alter things. I'm not very technologically savvy, and I'm only 19 years old, but you can imagine if someone is not as comfortable with a computer that it would be difficult for them to navigate things easily. And it also really helped that we were guided by such experienced researchers, such as Mrs. McKittrick and Dr. Richards down at the end of the table. Like I said before, I had no prior experience, and I know a lot of my classmates didn't as well, just because we were all freshmen coming in. So we really didn't know what to expect for the usability testing, but sitting there and watching professionals that have been practicing it and that have been working on it so willingly, and we're just so willing and happy and eager to help us as students was really incredible, because I know that that will help me so much later when I come down to another research project down the road. And then there were also some more advantages. We really found that the person-to-person interaction, Dr. Richards interviewed each of our usability testing participants. And that's really helpful, because if our participants were simply following directions, there could lead to a lot of confusion. But the conversation between them and the guidance really helped, I believe. And then also, the relationship between the lead researchers and the students. Both Mrs. McKittrick and Dr. Richards were so involved within this course, and I know they provided me with a lot of guidance. There were times where I wasn't exactly sure of what to do, and I could go right to them, and and I could visit them during their office hours. I would go visit Mrs. McKittrick frequently, or I could email Dr. Richards if he wasn't available, and they would get right back to us, always happy to help. And I really valued that myself as a student because I need the direction. I really do. And so it really meant a lot to me. And if there are any other advantages that someone else would like to point out, feel free at this time.
Hi, again, it's me. Doing research, learning it as a freshman, I feel like this class incredibly increased how I will go about the rest of college, because I'm going to be English minor, communications. I'm going to be writing a lot of papers, and learning how to make an effective annotated bibliography, writing an effective abstract is going to be so beneficial, and I'm so glad I took this class.
Actually, I like to second what Macy said. The involvement of the instructors was amazing. It was a very close relationship between student and teacher here, and it made the class just, the flow was just so much better.
Yeah, I also wanted to add that I think it's incredible that within one semester, we got to cover a whole entire research. So starting from an abstract to an annotated bibliography to a research review to a report, to presenting, and all in one semester. So not were we only able to complete the English aspect of this class, we were able to get involved with the community and help them as well.
And now we'll have Connor continue us on with a little more about the research through our reflection aspect of this presentation.
Alrighty. Thank you, Macy. So, my name's Connor Penley, and I'm currently studying marine biology here at ODU. And I'm going to reflect a little bit on some of my experiences with this project of service learning. So, and I would implore my colleagues to jump in if this next statement is as true as I believe it is. But I was frequently reminded how rare and how important this class, this opportunity was. And, okay, we all agree. Well, I frequently asked myself, I was like, all right, so why is it so important? Why is it so rare? Well, frankly, a group of undergraduates being given the opportunity to publish research findings, to basically garner experience in speaking opportunities such as this, as well as actively contributing to a field that has some practicality to it, is astonishing. So, on a personal note, what was this class, this service learning project to me? It was like a very extensive and long test drive. I was able to step directly into the shoes of what a field researcher would do. And I was able to gauge, okay, so if I decided to do this, what would be required of me? Which is really interesting because, as I mentioned previously, my major is in marine biology, and I really want to conduct field research. So now, take a step back from me. The difficulty of, say, students that are getting out of 4 years of college, they have their bachelor's degree, the difficulty of getting into their desired career is really, really an insurmountable task. Now, why is this? Well, it's because there's so many people with so many of the same standards, the same merits. Well, programs like this give you opportunities to broaden your horizons. You have opportunities to basically gain experience. There's no simpler way to put it. You basically have opportunities, publications, speaking experiences. That looks great on paper. And it gets you further, gets your foot in the door, so to speak, your name on the map. Well, as far as for me, Climate Central today, maybe tomorrow, NOAA. Thank you. Sorry. So, just a brief recap. What am I taking away from this? Well, mainly the experiences. Everything that was taught, all these elements, all these practices, just the prep work, the actual engagement in the project itself, I will definitely use in the future, either for future classes or my career. Now, of course, experience, that's what I keep coming back to, but hands-on is the new method of learning. And again, there's all these extra paddings on paper for the resume, just what you look like on paper versus getting out into your career. And while it sounds minute saying it out loud, but my career focus has been kept very acute by this program. Now, I'm 2 years into my 4, and I can say with utmost certainty that I want to conduct field research in the study of marine biology. And I can also say that very few students in the ODU student body can say that only 2 years in. And now I'd like to introduce one of my other colleagues, Aaron Jacobson.
Hello, everyone. My name is Erin Jacobson, and I'll be continuing the reflection discussion with a little bit more about the course first. There were several learning outcomes that took place in this course because it was a course, not just a research project. And one of those things is that we learned technical and scientific writing skills that related to the course's subject matter. And we mentioned that that was crisis communication and climate change. And what was fantastic is that we were able to hone those skills through our assignments, through the writing of our research and recommendation reports. And this will help us in our future endeavors because this type of writing is widely used in academic and professional institutions, and now we really have those skills under our belts. But not only did we learn about writing, we learned other skills as well, such as transcribing and coding, as Mrs. McKittrick mentioned in the methodology section. We learned about proper research ethics, such as how to conduct a usability experiment, how to interact with participants and how to recruit them, how to paraphrase and cite sources correctly. And those are all really important things for us. Oh, sorry, of course. There we go. Those are really important skills for us to have, and it's fantastic that we have them so early in our academic career. Now, going back to service learning, there are many advantages to this sort of learning, and one of which is that there is a level of engagement between the students and the faculty. There's a high amount of collaboration, especially in our case, with the students and teachers, both in and out of the classroom. And this is immensely helpful in developing that teamwork mentality, which is so important in a research project. And also, we are learning by experience. Now, I can really only speak for myself, but I can say that for me, learning from textbooks and lectures is, of course, useful. And I know we had a lot of lectures that were useful for us. But it's an entirely different story when we're talking about real, tangible experience. And in service learning, we get that hands-on experience. And not only we're having that meaningful experience, but we're doing meaningful work. We're not just writing for the sake of writing. Now, of course, grades are important. We're in college. I think we all know that. But the fact that what we are writing is being sent to our client and hopefully benefiting Climate Central so that they can make changes to the Risk Finder tool will also help the community in a way, because now they can use the tool in the way that it was intended without that confusion. But with that being said, there are a few drawbacks that might need to be mentioned. Again, I had an incredibly fantastic experience with service learning, but there are some things to mention, and one of which is that the research community partner may not provide enough interaction or feedback. We only spoke to our community partner once as students on a teleconference, and that was a fun experience. It was great to be able to talk to Mr. Rizek directly, and that was sufficient for us that one time, but for other projects, that might not be enough. Also, I think we mentioned that this was a pre-designed study, as is the nature of service learning, and that is fantastic for helping the students with that gentle introduction, but it's also hard because, or it might be a disadvantage because it may not suit the students' interests. And again, this was climate change, and I think several people here mentioned that they didn't know it was a climate change course, and that could be a problem for some students. I mean, I think you all liked it though. I think it turned out okay. But so Another one is that there may be incongruent goals and expectations. I think as Macy mentioned, in service learning, we really surpass that traditional teacher-student circumstance. We really go beyond that. We are now having clients, we have members from the community, we have us as a research team working as a whole, we have other instructors such as Dr. Richards working on that project, leading the project. And because of that, there might be different opinions, different directions. I think it worked out for us. We all got our angles and it went very well, but that is definitely something that teachers need to think about and students need to think about. And finally, there's an adjustment period, especially at the beginning of the course in service learning. Again, this was an introductory level course, so I don't think any of us had taken a technical and scientific writing course. It was very new, and most of us had not done any sort of research, and yet we were delving into a very real, ongoing research study with experts. And because of that, there was some confusion, some ambiguity, understandably, but keeping that in mind, this is a recommendation that I have for teachers. And that is, if you're partaking in service learning, I highly suggest that you have a strong course plan and preparation. Mrs. McKittrick, I mentioned this in the first panel if you were there, she utilized the scaffolding technique where every assignment built upon the previous assignment and culminated in a final project. And we all mentioned how useful that was for us, how comfortable we felt writing our final project because we had the background work and we had the resources that we needed to succeed. And kind of building upon that, and again, as I think Macy mentioned, is that there was, in service learning, there needs to be a certain amount of trust between the teachers and students. Now again, we were students who had no idea what we were doing. We had no data, we had no direction. We really weren't as familiar with the project as we would have liked to be. And we have to trust in our teachers to ensure that we are doing what we need to do and getting where we need to go. But also on the teacher's end, they have to trust us as students because we are representing both the instructors and our university, and we're working with a client and members from our community. So we have to make sure that we're conducting ourselves in a professional manner, and also that we're doing our part because it's not just about us anymore. We're working towards a bigger picture. But the final recommendation that I have is to absolutely get involved in service learning because it gets students excited about research at an early stage in their academic career. I know I would have never known how much research was important to me and my future, and now I know that it's something I wish to pursue where I can make the most of my resources. So service learning is definitely the reason for that. And from there, I'll turn it over to Mrs. McKittrick for the conclusion.
So at this point, we're very interested in part in your observations of the tool itself as a means of engaging with a conversation with the students. So for those who browse the site, please share your thoughts regarding the affordances of it, the limitations of it, any questions, concerns, or issues that you might have run into that we can probably all certainly relate to. And at this time, if you have any questions for us, either about productive usability, our approach to this research, or our approach to service learning or students' experiences, happy to field those questions now.
I was curious if you were involved with the Mari Institute on campus or the CCSLRI people and looking at their research because they did all that mapping vulnerabilities and stuff like that.
For the fall and spring semester, this URLC, the Climate Change and Crisis Communication course, was involved with Mari's events throughout the semester. So as extra credit opportunities, students could attend different events on campus. I've been in contact with Dr. Covey, Michelle Covey of Mari, as well as Dr. Hans-Peter Plog. For the fall semester, students had an opportunity to publish their final works with them through their site, and they were involved in the final presentations. This semester, we didn't do much beyond the extra credit opportunities for the events that they offered. But they're an excellent resource and very supportive. Yeah.
One more. I have to look at this site on my bigger computer because
Yeah.
it kept, it's just too small on my iPad mini.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it kept shutting down. It kept like,
Yeah, it does that.
Thank you very much. It's really interesting to see this success also as a course development. But also I saw that each student has different perspective and expectation, and also their goals is totally different than each other. How you work as a team, you know, just any challenges? Because it's a little bit interprofessional also, is connection there.
Well, the main challenge was, I think you're right, with having one set of methods for all students to engage in, with one data set that they would work with at the end of the semester. I tried to find ways to get students to plug in through their own research interests, and that meant early in the semester identifying, not only exploring what we were doing as a class, but also conducting research into their own individualized angle. And that, I think, was probably the most confusing part of the semester for students, because without having the data yet, it was hard for students to imagine what they were getting into. So in terms of topic development, they had to kind of really start from scratch, and maybe some of the students can speak to their process for that. But essentially my approach was to get students to think of topics that would be based off of what their major was, their research interests, how it connected to climate change, sea level rise, risk communication, as well as web design, and move from there. So,
Actually, on that note, Ms. McKittrick actually had a really cool approach early on in the semester, like she was saying. When we were starting out, we actually came up with about 2, 3, maybe 4 ideas that could be a possible angle. And we were, of course, encouraged to spin it around our major. Well, we actually used varying ideas from our colleagues, say similar ideas. We could go back and forth. And opposite ideas, we could view the issue of risk communication from, say, mine was on the environmental aspect. I could look at one of my colleagues that was viewing it from a social aspect. It allowed for many different eyes in different areas on the same idea.
Personally, when I was trying to develop my angle, I didn't really want to take the science aspect because science isn't very interesting to me, being arts and communication. So I just looked at the physical look of what the website looked like and how it would be used, and I just basically would play around with the tool, find what worked and what didn't work, and developed what I thought our participants would find issues with, or what they would like about it. And then when we actually got to the usability testing, all of my theories and ideas and all the late nights not being able to sleep, just playing around with this tool, it was realized. And it was great to have the usability testing, but before then, I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing here, because I didn't have concrete data to use to write a paper with. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I would like to add, we had to kind of change our angle a couple of times. So in the beginning, we started with an angle, and as we gathered more information, we're like, oh, we can look at it this way. And, you know, we went to Ms. McKittrick, and she kind of helped us find our angle as well by guiding us in a way, which was very helpful.
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, I started with, you know, like more along the lines of in relation with natural disasters. And throughout my research, I completely went to another angle of communication. So it was a learning process and to see what would work.
And if I could add one more thing, I think big picture-wise, we all just really are going to encounter research through all of the things that we're majoring in. And down the road, I mean, I think we all just wanted to do a really good job on this because we know we'd be having to do it again. So working together towards that goal in its entirety, really, even though it might not been, because I know this doesn't really, climate change doesn't really relate to speech pathology for me, but it's still inspired me to do great on it and get interested in it. And I personally love the topic, but I just wanted to do my best because I know I'll be doing research again. So I think that helped as well in making us work as a team.
I definitely second that. Just having a common goal of we're furthering this tool to help move a important issue forward in potentially it being solved, or at least bettered. It definitely, I think, pulled the class together, as well as just the general intention to do well, which again falls back on the relationship between the instructor and students.
Yeah, and I would also like to add, we had in-class discussions, and we also reviewed each other's paper, and we added comments, so that also allowed us to work together as a team and sort through this process.
Hello. I had a quick question about the logistics of the course. First of all, I know it's a 200 level gen ed course, but it's for only honors students. Is that honors college? Okay. And what's the class size?
The class size was 18 students this semester.
Fantastic.
17 in the fall semester.
Okay. And I guess the other thing was, is it a 3-credit course?
Yes.
Okay. This is great. I mean, I'm really impressed, and hi Connor. You know, all of the students here just really are inspiring to me, you know, especially teaching large lecture courses where I don't often get that sort of interpersonal connection with the students, and trying to figure out ways to incorporate service learning. I also teach a summer course, Biology 311, which is global change biology. And we spend one day maybe talking about sea level rise, so maybe I could get some guest speakers to come in there and show off the website. Thank you.
I know they would love that opportunity. So.
What were the other topics aside from the whole class did not do climate change? Am I correct?
The whole class, well, the data that we collected this semester was on our usability testing data on the Risk Finder tool for Climate Central. So the topic of that class was revolved around risk communication and climate change, especially via Climate Central's approach to risk communication.
I kind of feel someone said that, but I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah.
This is more of a comment than a question, I suppose, but I really think kudos to everybody involved, because moving forward in the future, 10, 20, 30, 50 years from now, the world's problems are going to become more and ever increasingly complex. And so if we have a speech pathologist working with a communication arts student, working with a business major, working with a marine biologist, an economist, a public health official, you recognize the complexity of these issues, and that you're able to put together your differences and set aside the differences and kind of work as a team. So kudos to all of you, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future.
I think it's a great opportunity how you reach out to multidisciplinary aspects. And I just want to tell to all you in English bachelor's program, current director of NSF, France Cordova, has bachelor's in English, master's and PhD in physics. So, you know, you can do other stuff after your bachelor's. And I think this is an excellent project. What also you can do other than, you know, what you think that your major led you to.
There's one thing I wanted to point out is as students were talking about their reactions to kind of the confusions of navigating their angles and what possibilities this project might offer them. And I have to say that I was actually as pleased with the confusions that they were running into as I was with the successes that they were having, because I felt that they were doing it right if they were having these kinds of confusions about the research. In other words, as we all know as researchers, we don't often know where the data is going to point us. We have questions that we design early on. We have hypotheses, but things change and we adapt and we flexibly move from one angle to another as we collect our resources for our own annotated bibliographies, for our own research review work. And so I was pleased to see that students throughout the semester were making those adjustments, flexibly moving between these topics and subtopics as they engaged with this confusion, and not letting that turn into a roadblock for them, but rather using it to empower them as they move toward an excellent final product. So I have to say that I was extraordinarily proud and honored to be working with such an excellent group of students, and excited to have the opportunity to work with Dr. Richards as he guided us through this entire process. So thank you all for coming and for your feedback. I have a lot of ideas as we move forward, and yes, and thank you all.
Thanks for a great panel.
I'm about to. Take mine.